What's going on, everybody? In this video, we are going to be talking about what's going on in the markets, some of the hottest free mints, as well as some major updates on some up and coming projects. So if you've been watching the Parallax for a bit, you would see that I'm in a different location. Right now, I am traveling in Singapore, so I am making this video in my hotel. So go ahead and smash the like button if you respect the work ethic of making videos while I'm still traveling, and let's go ahead and dive right into it. First thing we got to talk about is Ethereum has been trading pretty steadily. It's at the 1.5, 1.6 kind of range. During this time, it seems like people are kind of bullish on Ethereum, but you have to just be careful that, hey, you know, it can dump anytime, can go up, you know, like nobody really knows. But yeah, I mean, overall, I guess it's kind of healthier for the space that Ethereum is at a higher price than, you know, 800. But again, be very careful of your entry and exit, and if you're going to hold long term or if you're trying to do short term trading. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get into some projects. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be 9gag the Potatoz. And as you know, the Potatoz was going to be a free mint 9999 supply. And so as a free mint, it's kind of crazy that the volume is actually at 2.3K. And then the floor price for this is actually a 0.64, which is absolutely huge for a free mint. Like, we haven't really seen one of these in a while. So when you're looking at it, obviously it's going to be like this little poop over here, and then it's going to turn into a potato or whatever. You know, I would say, like, when it comes to narrative and controlling the narrative and doing whatever is in the meta, 9gag is pretty strong when it comes to that. They really have a pulse on the market. So definitely, if you're a project founder or a project creator, or even if you're a marketing agency, I would really look at what they're doing, because they are hitting it really well, right? Because they did the MVP thing, the minimal viable product NFT, which, you know, people just like sent money to an address, and now, you know, that thing's worth like, it was like 20 ETH at one point. And then now we have the free mint. So they did the super expensive one, now they're doing the free one, and they haven't even launched their true collection yet. Quite interesting that they're making so much noise even during a bear market. A lot of lessons to learn there. Now, another project I want to talk about is going to be Isekai Meta. Now, this is a little bit of a different story, where Isekai Meta is going for more of like an anime thing. They have deep ties in the anime world, and they're even partnering up with some prestigious anime studios who have worked on a lot of big names like Pokemon, I believe, and amongst many others. And so, you know, when you have this like legitimate project that's trying to, you know, create something amazing, it's kind of interesting that the floor price would be below the mint price. So it's definitely challenging, right? And the landscape I see, and it's no shade to them or anything, but it's like, to understand the NFT market, you have to understand that a lot of people love flipping, a lot of people want to make money. And then when you come out with a good project and you're very clear on what you want to do, I think it only attracts a certain amount of people to want to jump on board, because it's like, people understand what you are, and if they think like, oh, that's cool, but I don't think that it's gonna 10x, then they're not gonna buy it, right? And so it's gonna be harder, definitely, for sure, for people who are very transparent with their plans. But at the same time, you know, it's still pretty good that they are able to mint and even have, you know 4.8K supply at the moment. And, you know, a lot of people are making that comparison of like, oh, how can like Isekai Meta be only at a 0.2 when this little poop thing from 9gag is like 0.6 or whatever, right? And I think it's not really fair to compare those projects in the same way, because they do marketing in a different way. When it comes to like the potato, right, it's like you don't really even know what you're getting with that potato. Whereas for Isekai Meta, it's kind of like they're a little bit more transparent with what they're trying to do, although, you know, the plans may change and things like that, and, you know, you don't really know how it's going to play out, but they're trying to communicate that versus, you know, being mysterious. So my personal take at the moment right now, if you're trying to generate as many sales as possible, generate as much volume as possible, it's actually better to keep things a mystery. But at the same time, when you keep things a mystery, yes, you get more sales, you get more volume, you get more degens, but when people are not satisfied with what you're offering, then, you know, they're going to FUD you to the ground, which we've seen with other projects before. So it's like, you know, a gift and the curse in a sense. You got to choose your strategy wisely. If you want to optimize revenue, then I would actually go the mysterious route. But if you want to build a core following and, you know, not have people FUD you, then you be more honest, but then you have to give up less sales. So different strategies for different people depending on what you want to do. Now, another mint that recently came out was going to be the RTFKT Nike AR hoodie. Now, there's a little bit of controversy on this, but let me go ahead and explain like what this is first, and then everything that happened with the mint, right? So when it comes to what the hoodie is, it actually is a little kind of expensive. It's 0.2 ETH, which is like $300 for a hoodie. But then again, what makes it special or different is that, you know, they're gonna have these kind of like an AR hoodie. So it has these little pieces printed on the actual sweater, and there's like a verifier thing somehow like built it in the sweater. So pretty much like if someone's wearing like AR glasses, or they're using an iPhone that has AR on it, you're able to like wear these like angel wings, or probably like whatever wings you want to design, and put them on top. It's one of the first examples of like flexing in AR. Like, obviously in the everyday life, nobody is wearing AR glasses, so no one's even gonna know like what this is. But in the future, you know, for people that are in the know, or if you go to like an NFT event and then like people like can look at your AR stuff through their phone or whatever, then that might be like a subtle flex. It's quite interesting. It's quite experimental. You know, overall, I like the idea. Maybe this is going to be something that people will wear. You know, they're walking on the street and they're just wearing like a black sweater with like these white patches on it. Nobody knows what it is. But then to the people that know, they might looking like a god in AR, right? So quite an interesting concept. The challenge that they had when it comes to minting was that a lot of people who had all the assets you needed, like a CloneX and a bio and a lot of different assets you can use to be able to mint. They weren't able to mint directly from the website for some reason, and so they have to learn how to mint from the smart contract, and then that also created problems, and some, you know, it's like some people didn't get it and things like that. It's surprising that they would have those kind of technical challenge for RTFKT Studios, which, you know, has a lot of money and they have a lot of smart people there, so it's like, why are we having trouble minting? And then also, why do you have to like mint it from directly from the smart contract? So it's like, that's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, the hoodie itself, you know, 0.2 ETH sale mint price, and now it's like 0.36. So, you know, whoever minted the hoodie, if they want to sell it, they get instant free money. So that is pretty cool, right? Another thing to think about is like, with all the money that RTFKT Studios have made so far and the mint and everything like that and royalties, it's kind of surprising that they wouldn't just like airdrop this to everybody. You know, I guess they were trying to figure out like revenue sources, is my guess. Like if I was RTFKT Studios and I wanted to maximize revenue, then I would just keep selling more and more stuff and keep like dropping things similar to that Supreme style of dropping, so that you can consistently make revenue, artificially decrease supply, increase demand, and then you have this ecosystem of being able to drop something like every other month or whatever. And so that probably is a strategy versus giving it for free, which other people have done. Different strategies for different people, but I think if you like get people used to buying stuff and you're like, oh, you have a CloneX, this will earn you a right to buy my physical products, then I think you'll get enough people that want to buy. You only need like 20,000 people, right? And then those people will be so used to buying every week that they're like, oh, I get to skip the line and I don't have to compete against people that don't have the NFT. So that's the value right there, right? So different ways to approach it. I think it's just setting the expectations right. But then at the same time, you know, RTFKT Studios have dropped so many airdrops to their holders for free that, you know, if they just like sold all their airdrops, they would have made much more than they spent on the initial mint. Now, real quickly, I want to talk about the Parallax NFT. We actually had our residential alpha caller Sumo over here, Sumo Ken. He actually did a write-up on the Parallax. He's experimenting with like this new format, making it like really easy to read and things like that. I had no input when it comes to this. Like, even though he is part of the team, it's not like I told him what to write. Patrick's a hard worker. You know, he has like tech experience. He has media experience. Probably the biggest strength that we have is that we're a media company, right? So that's the potential catalyst of like doing YouTube content. And we're also going to plan to do different mediums of content. You know, hopefully we build the infrastructure right, so that, you know, when the bull market does eventually come back, we'll be in a pretty good position to be that go-to place to learn about NFTs. Now, the risk, he said, is that Patrick likes to take on a lot of jobs at once. That's actually kind of true, but I am learning how to delegate better, learning how to become a better manager. So, you know, I think that's a risk that can be easily solved, especially because we did mint and we have funds to hire the right people. The other risk is like crypto and NFT market collapses. Yeah, of course, like if the NFT market collapses, like everyone is going to go to zero anyways, right? So one interesting thing here for the ratings, he's like, utility and hype are pretty low. So for hype, that's actually kind of true, because like the way I marketed the Parallax was very organic, and I didn't rely on like mysterious things to like hype it up, right? But the pros of that is that the people that want to be in it actually want to be in it, and I think that's a pretty good seed building forward. So for me, it's like growth can either be like you get a lot of hype and then you sustain it and it keeps going. The other route is like you go hype and then you like drop off in interest because like all the people really just want to flip and you get all this money, but then like you start from the bottom and you have to grind your way up, which is a challenge in itself. The way I kind of chose to do things was, instead of like building a lot of hype, I want that steady, consistent growth, right? Which I think is more healthier for a business and makes people more sane, and people don't fudge you. And if your business actually deserve to actually become something, then it will become something, right? And so that's the approach I took. So not that much hype quite yet, but honestly, when we start like pushing out more media, NFT market comes back, I think the demand for learning about NFTs is going to be there. Now, utility, he put it pretty low. I get what you're saying, right? Because it's not like you buy this NFT, then you get this airdrop, then you have to stake, and then you whatever, right? So I don't play that game. I definitely go for the more media approach. It takes a little bit longer to build these channels, and the educational approach. Yeah, definitely there are things that I'm planning, things that we can do, but it definitely will improve. And now in other news, we have talked about this project, you know, in a previous video, 1984, but what caught my eye recently is that yesterday they released this trailer. The interesting part is that Casey Neistat is actually in this video. So if you kind of watch the teaser, you see Casey Neistat over here. He might have been the one that actually directed it, or I'm not sure. It says starring Casey Neistat. So he's just like holding like a VHS kind of camera and recording this whole thing happen. So I wonder, like, is Casey Neistat somehow an investor in this project? Did they pay him for that? I'm just curious to know from a business standpoint. At the same time, it's also like, oh, like a brand character or personality like Casey Neistat, who's like pretty high profile on YouTube, publicly putting his name on a new NFT project, right? Like, this is not a project like that's been out for a while. This, like, they literally just like launched their Twitter just like a week ago or a couple days ago, right? Seems like there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't see as, you know, just public people. I do know some people on the team, so I know a little bit more, but it's not necessarily like public information. Definitely something to watch out for, because if like they're able to get these influencers, like mainstream Web2 influencers on board, Is it possible that they can onboard Web 2 people into Web 3? It's a possibility, right? It's a possibility, but again, during a bear market, not a lot of people are jumping into the NFT space, but something cool. Talking about Web 2, we actually have the project Nickelodeon and Rugrats and Hey Arnold in Ethereum just like popping off the other day. So it was like this crazy mint. Floor price was this, at one point it was like a 0.4, I think. And then Steve Aoki bought it. So obviously when he buys everything goes down. No offense to him or anything, but I feel like for Steve Aoki, he doesn't really care about the price. He's just like, when it gets to his ear, it's probably like someone told him. He's like a little late, but he makes so much money that it doesn't matter if he spends like 50K on this and it goes to zero, because like he'll probably just play a show and make much more back, because he is a celebrity in a sense, right? So I mean, there's an agency called Recur, right? And they're the ones that are actually running this NFT project. So I think there's a pretty big opportunity for like people who do Web3 agencies and they go to Web2 brands and they basically take their IP and bring it into Web3. So there definitely is a lot of opportunity there if you're someone that's into agencies and stuff. I think they understand that a lot of people who buy NFTs, like people like my age and like whatever, they know what Hey Arnold is. It's nostalgic. We have like buying power, so we're willing to spend like a couple $100s on this. I feel like it's more of a collection, like based on reading what's going on the like website and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like there's going to be much utility for having this, but it's nostalgic. It's like art. Maybe there will be utility in the future. Hard to say, but they also have a marketplace as well. Interesting. I think in the future, you're probably going to see like a wave of a bunch of Web2 IPs get into Web3, and my guess is that a lot of them are not going to be good, right? Because if you think about it from the perspective of, let's see, these Web3 agencies, and there's going to be like literally this year, I think there's just going to be an explosion of Web3 agencies, and it's going to be like hyper competitive in the future. Right now, I think it's pretty easy to do because there's not much competition, but it's similar to like when Facebook came out and Instagram came out and people were like, oh, you can make money on these websites. Then whoever started an agency back then, it was easy for them to bring on fashion brands into Instagram or whatever, right? So same thing, Web3. And I think you're going to get a lot of trash. I'm not saying this is trash. I'm just saying in general, you're going to get like these Web2 brands, yes, make a lot of money, but they don't really care about Web3. They don't get it. They just hire an agency. They just make an NFT. They sell out. And then it's like, oh, what do we do? So I think you're going to get a lot of that. So be very careful. Just because someone is a successful Web2 brand, it doesn't mean they're going to be successful in Web3. I think there has to be a right combination of, a project lead leading the Web3 side with the resources of a Web2, whether it's money or IP or connections or things like that. So that's something I'm paying attention to closely as we hit this next wave. And then also, even for the Parallax community, a lot of people come from Web2 backgrounds and they're trying to create NFTs and they're trying to do it like get into Web3. And so, I can see like some of the challenges people have is like the skills they have in Web2 don't 100% translate into Web3 because they don't have the nuance, the culture and things like that. So there's an opportunity to bridge that gap for sure, but also understand that even if it looks like it's bridged, a lot of these projects are still going to go to zero, even if their intention is well, just because like it's not easy to do a Web3 brand. And by the way, if you are interested in taking a Web2 brand to Web3, or you want to learn more about NFTs or maybe start a project, that's something I'm kind of experimenting with in the Parallax community, because there are a lot of founders in the space getting into the space who do have a Parallax, and we do have those conversations. So that's definitely one reason for why, someone will want to purchase a Parallax, if you're interested, right? I'm not trying to hard sell you or anything, but it's just something that I've been noticing. And so with that said, that's everything that we have to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what kind of videos you want to see next, because when you suggest it, it gives me ideas and I create it. So with that said, my name is Spencer Deng, and I will see you guys in the next one.